During my graduation ceremony, while everyone else was focused on their diplomas, I was busy mentally rehearsing the proposal I had been planning for months. I wanted to surprise Elena the moment the ceremony wrapped up. I tried calling her phone over and over, but it just kept ringing with no answer. Later, I learned that Elena, who had promised to be there for my big moment, had skipped it entirely to go to the airport. She went to pick up a childhood friend of hers who was moving back to town. I didn't actually see her until I arrived at her front door, soaked to the bone because I'd been caught in a downpour without an umbrella. That was the moment I finally met the guy who had just returned. He looked at me with a challenging, arrogant stare. Seeing them standing there, holding on to each other so tightly, refusing to separate even though I was right there, I understood exactly what was happening. I ended up selling the engagement ring I had saved for months to afford. I took the cat we had raised together. Later, she found me crying and said, "I planned the proposal you always wanted. I even bought back the rings you sold. Mark, please come back." Okay, let me back up. I arrived at Elena's apartment at the exact same time they did. The guy was leaning heavily on Elena's shoulder, looking completely comfortable and dependent on her. They were wrapped up in each other's arms, holding on like they couldn't stand the thought of letting go. When he noticed me staring, the guy looked up and raised an eyebrow. He mouthed the words, "Hey there, future brother-in-law." Then, right in front of me, he planted a loud, lingering kiss on Elena's cheek. Elena turned her head, giving him a playful, fake pout. "What do you think you're doing?" I asked him. "Hello?" Hearing my voice, Elena's body went rigid. She immediately shoved Caleb, the guy leaning on her, away. She turned around stiffly. When she saw me standing there, staring at them with absolutely no expression on my face, she went pale. "Mark? What are you doing here? You didn't even let me come pick you up." I managed to force a weak smile. If I hadn't come here myself, how would I have seen this little show? Before she could come up with an excuse, Caleb peeked his head out from behind her shoulder. "Hey, you must be the little boyfriend Elena has been seeing." He held out a hand for me to shake. "Hi, I'm Caleb, Elena's childhood friend. I've heard so much about you. You're exactly like they described. I just didn't expect—" I tilted my head, genuinely curious about what insult was coming. "Didn't expect what?" He pursed his lips. "I didn't expect you to be so strict with our Elena. It was just a friendly kiss on the cheek. Is it really that big of a deal, you hick?" The guy's voice was smooth and condescending, and his words were designed to cut. Elena looked at me apologetically. Then she frowned and nudged him with her elbow. Caleb stuck his tongue out like a child and rolled his eyes at her. "Sorry, I'm just used to speaking my mind. You won't hold it against me, right, Mark?" He pretended to be the victim and lightly tapped her shoulder with his fist. "Mark didn't even say anything yet. Why are you being so sensitive? You get a boyfriend and suddenly you're acting all distant with me. What happened to us being close?" Elena frowned, looking displeased. "What are you talking about? That was forever ago. Don't say stuff like that in front of my boyfriend. If he gets mad, I'm going to be upset." Caleb pouted, dropping his voice to a whisper. "Wow. You get a boyfriend and totally forget about the friendship we've had since we were kids. Elena, you're really something else." Elena's expression tensed up. "How could you say that? You're my best friend. Mark is my boyfriend. You're both very important to me." Caleb was quickly placated by this. He happily followed behind us, trying to come inside the apartment. Elena blocked him at the door. "I already picked you up. Don't you dare go tattling to my mom again. If there's nothing else, you should head home. I need to spend time with my boyfriend." Caleb pouted, reluctantly stepping aside. "I haven't even seen your mom yet. I miss her. I'm not leaving." Then he made a move to push past her and enter. Seeing me still standing there, he asked, "Mark, are you coming in too?" I was baffled. I don't recall suddenly having a little brother. Besides, I'm not in the habit of randomly claiming relatives, Mr. Caleb. Having no filter isn't the same as being brutally honest. You're giving honesty a bad name. And one more thing. Whether I forgive you or not is my decision. Neither of you has the right to decide that for me. Caleb clearly didn't expect me to be so blunt. He stammered for a moment, unable to come up with a clever response. Then his eyes turned red, like he was about to cry. Elena. Mark. I'm sorry. Elena stepped in to smooth things over. Mark, he's been kind of dumb since we were kids. He doesn't even know what that idiom means. He didn't mean anything by it. Don't take it to heart, okay? My hands clenched the hem of my wet shirt. A gust of wind blew by, and I shivered from the cold. Only then did Elena realize I was completely soaked. She started nagging me about not taking care of myself while she carefully blow-dried my hair. Beans, our cat, circled my feet, hooking his tail around my pant leg and purring. Mrs. Higgins told me Beans threw up, I said. I was in such a rush to get here that I forgot an umbrella. I didn't expect the rain to get so heavy halfway here. Elena frowned. Even if you were worried about Beans, you can't just ignore your own health. What if you get sick? Why didn't you call me? I pushed her hand away and looked up at her. Check your phone. Elena froze for a second, then immediately pulled her phone out of her handbag. A flicker of panic crossed her face. Mark, my phone was on silent. I'm so sorry. Was it something important? I glanced at my bag where the rings I'd planned to propose with were still tucked away. I shook my head. It's nothing. It was just my graduation today. I wanted you to be there, that's all. Before coming back to her place, I had already cleaned up the scene I had so carefully arranged at the venue. I gave the useful decorations to the dorm supervisor downstairs. Everything else I threw in the trash. Elena knelt beside me, her expression sincere. Mark, I promise you'll never be unable to find me again. Hey, isn't this a picture from our tug-of-war competition when we were kids? Caleb shouted. You little punk, you still have this? Caleb came over and threw an arm around Elena's neck. Come look at this. Your face is a total wreck. It's hilarious. Elena let him pull her over without getting angry. She leaned in, playing along. You're one to talk. Look at your face. You look like you're constipated. Caleb grinned mischievously and started tickling Elena's side. Elena lost her balance, and they both fell over onto the floor, laughing. Beans let out a sudden, loud meow. It broke the spell. Only then did Elena belatedly shove Caleb off of her. Caleb bumped into the wall, looking at her with a wounded expression. I picked Beans up and held him in my arms. Beans, you're being so thoughtless. You're interrupting something important, you know. I looked up at the two of them. Do you need me to give you some space? Maybe I can bring a bed over for you. Elena's face went white, and she shot to her feet. Mark, I just lost my balance. We fell together by accident. Please don't think of us like that. Are you mad that I didn't come to get you today? Caleb bit his lip, his face a mask of anger. Mark, why do you have to say such nasty things? Just because she has a boyfriend, she doesn't have the right to have friends anymore? We grew up together. What's wrong with being a little close? People with dirty minds see everything as dirty. I looked at him coldly. You ran around naked as kids? So you're going to do that now too? You two are bold enough to fall all over each other in front of me. Who knows what you do behind my back? Caleb's eyes reddened. You've gone too far. No wonder they all say you're from a small town and you're a total barbarian. Someone like you doesn't deserve Elena. I grabbed him by the collar. Say that again. Elena shouted at us to stop. That's enough. She frowned. Caleb's right. You've gone a little too far. You've had it out for him from the moment you saw him. If you're angry that I didn't answer your calls today, I apologize. Standing behind her, Caleb smirked at me. His eyes flashed with triumph. My fists tightened, and blood rushed to my head. I slapped her, sending her head snapping to the side. A red handprint instantly appeared on her fair cheek. Caleb roared and lunged at me. I slapped him too, without a shred of restraint. They both deserved it. Elena sat on the sofa, pressing an ice pack to her face. Caleb had stormed out in a flood of tears moments before. The air outside was thick with humidity now. Bean's stomach is a little upset today. Maybe you should wait for better weather to take him, she mumbled. Her words were slurred because of her swollen cheek. Mark, you've hit me. You've yelled at me. Are you done now? She reached out to touch me. I dodged her hand. A flash of impatience crossed her eyes. Are you serious? I already explained everything, didn't I? Caleb hasn't been back in forever. Is it so wrong for me as his friend to pick him up? She knew. She knew how much I'd been looking forward to today. She had promised me a long time ago. She had held my hand, tracing my fingers, and told me she was going to give me a huge surprise at my graduation. After hearing that, my heart had started pounding uncontrollably. Could the surprise be a proposal? So I planned a proposal of my own, waiting for this day when our feelings would meet. Now it had all turned to dust, and she was turning around and blaming me. My chest felt tight, like a stone was lodged in it. For a moment I was glad she didn't come today, and that this ridiculous proposal never happened. Caleb was being vague, saying your friends had good reason to talk about me that way. But I've never even met your friends. Their impression of me comes entirely from you, so I'm a little curious. What am I like in your version of the story? What have you been telling your friends about me? A barbarian? Rude and aggressive? Elena froze. It was just an offhand comment. They exaggerated. I stared at her silently. But you've never once mentioned your friends to me offhandedly, including Caleb. She looked down, avoiding my gaze. I let out a heavy sigh. I walked past her. Maybe I had never really seen the girlfriend I was so proud of. She hadn't suddenly gone bad. I'd just suddenly found out. I saw her body tense up immediately. Her voice was tight with anxiety. Are you coming back? Elena and her friends threw a welcome party for Caleb. He even sent me a special invitation. I knew what he was up to, but running away isn't my style. A slap for each of them yesterday wasn't nearly enough to cool me down. As it happened, I had just finished a job interview nearby, so I swung by their private room. The moment I pushed the door open, the lively atmosphere inside died. A drunk Caleb was slumped against Elena. One of his hands was roaming restlessly around the collar of her blazer. Elena's expression changed, and she quickly pushed his wandering hand away and stood up. What are you doing here? I stared at them, my tone flat. Here to catch a couple of cheaters? The temperature in the room dropped instantly. Caleb covered his mouth, his eyes welling up with tears. Why would you just accuse people like that? You've gone too far. Elena shot up and pulled me aside. Don't cause a scene. This is Caleb's welcome party. Don't ruin it. Caleb tugged at his sleeve. Did you see me touching Elena? Don't get the wrong idea. It's no big deal where I've been living abroad. Good friends can do that. Elena's frown deepened. Okay, that's enough. I shook her hand off me. I was just kidding. Why is everyone so serious? I know Elena knows her limits. I looked at Caleb. So, what do you think of my girlfriend's body? Caleb looked at me with pure scorn. Of course it's amazing. Elena's body is the best I've ever felt. Elena actually looked a little proud. I laughed. You have to compare things to know what's good. I've only ever felt Elena. I haven't had the chance to feel anyone else. Why don't you let me in on this little game of yours? I smiled at Elena. You can't play favorites, can you? Her face had turned completely dark. I ignored her and called over a few of the female party companions. From the lineup, I picked the 2 prettiest ones with the best figures. They were more glamorous than Elena, and their presence completely overshadowed her. "That's enough! All of you get out!" Elena yelled at them. Sensing the hostile atmosphere, they apologized to me profusely and ran out without a second glance. Too bad. Didn't even get to touch them. But I memorized their faces. Next time I'm definitely requesting those 2. I looked at her, amused. "I was just playing the same game you 2 were. What are you so angry about?" She apologized to me through gritted teeth. She pulled me over to a seat. The others started to change the subject. Soon the conversation turned to me and Elena. Caleb cleared his throat. "Mark, this is my welcome party. Everyone has performed a little something for me. Since you're here, you should perform something too." He then waited, gloating. "I really don't have any talents. I'm tone-deaf and completely uncoordinated. All my skill points went into studying. Just getting from my small hometown to this dazzling, decadent metropolis felt like it had used up all my luck. Which is probably why I ended up with this bunch of losers. My background became their weapon against me. It made me the barbarian in the mouths of Elena and her friends." Elena forced a smile. "Just sing a simple song. It's not hard." "We all just sang a few songs," Caleb shouted excitedly. "Bro, I want to hear a Taylor Swift song." Her friends started chattering, picking songs. They argued for a while about what I should sing. Finally, they settled on a classic known for its high notes and for being incredibly easy to mess up. Elena frowned slightly, but said nothing. "You're not going to back out, are you, bro? Don't be a buzzkill." Caleb raised an eyebrow at me. I stood up and walked toward him, step by step. "Who said I was going to sing?" "Then what are you going to do?" I picked up a wine bottle. "I'm going to give everyone a performance of me beating the hell out of these 2 cheating scumbags." Unlucky in love, lucky in my career. I woke up rubbing my aching head. I skipped past the long string of accusatory texts from Elena. I clicked on the pinned chat with the HR rep. "Congratulations on the job offer. Please report to work next Monday." I leaped out of bed, overjoyed. My joy was short-lived. My doorbell started ringing insistently. I opened the door to find Elena's grim face. I sighed and was about to close the door. She stuck her foot in the way and squeezed inside. She sat on the sofa looking exhausted and rubbed her temples. "You really went too far yesterday. You made such a scene that my parents already know. Mark, go apologize to Caleb, and I'll handle my parents." I just stared at her coldly. Elena's tone was impatient. "Don't throw a tantrum this time. Normally I can tolerate whatever you do, but you shouldn't have embarrassed me like that in front of my friends. Do you know what they say about you behind my back? They call you a country brute. If this keeps up, you'll never get past my parents. You're putting me in a really difficult position. Are you really that bothered by the guys around me? Caleb is just a regular friend. You don't have to be so petty that you can't even tolerate my friends. And you had to call those girls over just to spite me? Was that really necessary?" Looking at her deeply furrowed brow, the last trace of bitterness in my heart vanished. A regular friend who tumbles onto the floor with you in public. A regular friend who sticks his hand inside your clothes. Your regular friends are pretty amazing. They can drink and chat with you in public and then sleep with you in private. A cheating bitch and a scumbag. Neither of you is any good. Since you're so fond of each other, I hope you two are locked together forever. Don't come out and ruin anyone else's life." Elena's face flushed red. "Mark, don't you go too far." "Elena, as of right now, we are broken up. Stop living in your delusional pipe dream. Marry you? You're not worthy." I pushed Elena out the door. I sat numbly staring out the window. When I was a kid, my favorite thing was sitting in my dad's boxing gym watching him teach. In his free time, he would teach me hand over hand how to throw a punch. He wanted me to take over the gym when I grew up. My mom would always tease, "What if you teach Mark to be all rough and tough, and he can't find a girlfriend in the future?" My dad would disagree. Boys need to be strong, or people will bully them. Our family was happy then, and I lived a carefree life. But those good days were shattered all too soon. I was sent to live with my aunt and uncle. As a small child, I would hide in the storage closet listening to them fight and break things. Then I would soak my pillow with tears. The next day I'd go to school alone with dark circles under my eyes. Living without my parents, I was bullied for a long time. I became a hyena that learned to snarl. I learned to let my fists do the talking. I held back the tears in my eyes. I looked out the window into the distance. See? No one can bully me now. They bullied me, so I hit them all back. Your son is brave, right? I had a few days before starting my new job. I had to use this time to get everything ready for Beans. Back in college, a stray cat on campus had a litter of kittens. One of them was especially weak. It could never fight its way to its mother's milk. Miraculously, it survived until it was weaned. Then it wobbled along with the mother cat foraging for food on campus. The little guy was naturally weak and couldn't compete with the other kittens. Often, just as food touched its mouth, it would be snatched away by a stronger kitten. Back then, Elena and I paid special attention to this little one. We always gave it extra food, but it still reached the point where its own mother abandoned it. That night during a heavy downpour, Elena and I were coming back from outside. We saw it lying alone in the rain. Its nest with the other kittens was just a short distance away. Seeing us, it let out a faint, weak meow. Its head slumped back to the ground. I quickly took off my jacket, and together Elena and I rushed it to the vet. It turned out it had FIP. The mother cat had sensed it wouldn't survive and had abandoned it. The vet said that because it was so small, treatment would likely be futile. But we didn't want to give up. We insisted the doctor treat it. Incredibly, Beans gave us a miracle. Every time we visited, he was doing better. I would hold him, and his soft fur would get all over me. Elena laughed, pointing at the cat hair on my clothes. "You two are like a big ball of fluff." The little guy curiously peeked his head out from my arms. I chuckled. "Then from now on, your name is Beans, okay?" My roommate had allergies, so Beans temporarily went to live at Elena's place. Thinking of Beans, who was eagerly waiting for me, I packed with even more energy. After that day, we had no contact. I rang the doorbell at Elena's place 3 times before a lazy male voice finally came from inside. "Coming!" I frowned. As much as I didn't want to see them, I had to make this trip today. "Whoa, you're not welcome here." Caleb was disheveled, with faint red marks on his neck. He yelled and tried to slam the door. I blocked it with my body. "I don't particularly want to be here either, but I have things to do, so move." I pushed the door open and walked in. Caleb dramatically leaned against the door. "Ah, why are you forcing your way in? Have you no manners?" Elena heard the commotion and hurried out from inside. Seeing me, a spark of joy lit up her eyes, which she quickly concealed with a demure frown. "What do you need? If you want to get back together, you have to apologize to us." Caleb cried out in surprise, and her attention was drawn back to him. "Caleb, are you okay?" Caleb's eyes were slightly red as he gently rubbed his arm. Elena looked, and there was indeed a small red patch. She frowned, about to speak. I rolled my eyes. "What could possibly be wrong? There's a security camera right above your head. If you're worried, you can check the footage." Caleb looked down, avoiding my gaze. "I just bumped into it by accident." Elena awkwardly looked away. "It's good that you're here. Caleb is right here. Apologize to him and we can put this behind us." I laughed out of pure frustration. "Do you not look at your phone?" Only then did she confusedly pull out her phone. I had told her last night that I was coming to pick up beans today. I held up the bubble backpack carrier. Were you sleepwalking last night? Who was it that agreed so readily on text? And today you have no idea why I'm here? She frowned, carefully reading through our chat history. I must have had too much to drink last night. I don't remember. I pushed past her. Let me inform you one more time. Elena has been dumped by me, Mark. You're laid off. Caleb shook Elena's arm. Elena, look at him. He's so rude just barging in like this. But Elena stood there frozen. Her face was pale as she stared in my direction. I didn't care how the two of them were reacting behind me. I went straight upstairs. Beans was sleeping in the pet room. Hearing my footsteps, his little ears twitched. He happily jumped up and ran over, purring at me. I picked him up and buried my face in his fur. Beans was listless. He tried to muster the energy to play with me, but after a moment he was lethargic again. Seeing me interacting with Beans, Elena put on a smile and tried to tease him with a ball of yarn. But Beans barely paid her any attention. She scratched her head. Mrs. Higgins hasn't been here the last couple of days, and Beans has been pretty inactive. But yesterday when we were eating, he kept circling me and meowing. The moment you show up, he doesn't love me anymore. Seeing Beans' abnormal behavior, I asked with a cold face, Have you fed Beans these past 2 days? Elena froze. She looked up in shock, but didn't dare to meet my eyes. Beans was still whining in my arms. Hearing his weak cries, my eyes welled up with pain and anger. I roared at her. How does a hungry cat know how to feed itself? Why don't you starve to death? You two were off being all lovey-dovey and this is how you treat Beans? Elena said frantically, It's my fault for not taking care of Beans. I ignored her, found the cat food, and refilled his water bowl. Beans devoured the half bowl I poured for him in one go and drank a lot of water before stopping. Once he was full, he jumped onto my lap and meowed at me. Beans, I'm taking you back to our home, okay? As I was leaving, Elena followed me closely. When I turned back, she grabbed my hand tightly. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry to Beans, too. The one I've always loved is you, Mark. Caleb had been trailing behind us the whole time. Hearing Elena's words, he gritted his teeth and stared at me with hatred. The curse words died in my throat. Suddenly, it all felt so pointless. I was embarrassed to even admit I had dated someone like this. I pointed at her neck. Next time you say that, maybe cover up the marks from the last guy. I fought back a wave of nausea. You two make me sick, genuinely. The small apartment I rented wasn't as big as the pet room Elena had set up for Beans, but Beans seemed thrilled with it all, happily hopping around the room. I took out the cat treats and freeze-dried snacks I had prepared. I hadn't dared to feed him too much earlier, afraid after he'd been starving for so long. Now I had to make it up to him. Beans, I'm going to work hard and make a lot of money. I'll definitely get you a bigger house then, okay? Beans meowed as he ate. I took that as a yes. I got rid of everything we had bought together. The designer watches she gave me, many of which I'd never even worn, and this pair of brand new rings. I put them all up on Facebook Marketplace. Because I listed them at a low price and had all the receipts, they sold out quickly. I used the money to buy Beans a mountain of snacks. Elena had been calling me constantly lately. As soon as I blocked one number, she'd call from another. When I didn't answer her calls, she'd send texts. Mark, did you throw away everything I gave you? A screenshot was attached. What's the deal with these rings? The date on the receipt is the day of your graduation. Is there something you haven't told me? Blocked. New number. I just remembered I promised to go to your graduation with you. I can't believe I forgot something so important. I saw pictures of you from that day on the school's online forum. Someone posted that you had set up a proposal. Were you going to propose to me? Mark, look what I've prepared for you. It's the style you said you loved most. I even found the buyer for those rings and bought them back. Will you come? Blocked. New number? It's okay if you don't come. I'll prepare 99 proposals for you. If you don't show up, I'll just keep proposing. It was endlessly annoying. How could someone be so shameless? One day I was heading out after work to get a new phone number. Right outside my office building, I ran into one of Elena's friends, the one from the private room. There was no avoiding her. I had to face her. Elena's in the hospital from drinking. If you have time, could you go see her? If she's sick, she should see a doctor. I studied finance, not medicine. The woman got agitated. How can you be so cold, heartless, and irresponsible? She drank herself into a perforated stomach because you two broke up. As her friend, even I drank with her. And you two used to be so close. Looking at her face, I remembered. On that day in the private room, she and Caleb had been the loudest cheerleaders. I looked at her. You are incredibly rude, shouting at the entrance of someone's company. Is this the kind of class you city people have? It was quitting time, and people were starting to crowd the entrance. Everyone was staring at her. Her face flushed. You, I continued, not only are you rude, but you have no sense of responsibility. You've really mastered the art of shifting blame. Instead of advising her to drink less, you indulged her out of some misguided sense of sisterly loyalty. She ended up in the hospital with a perforated stomach, and that's half your fault. If she had died from the drinking, you'd be the primary person responsible. She's drinking away her sorrows because I dumped her for cheating on me with 2 guys at once. Her own moral corruption is no one's fault but her own, and she's an adult capable of making her own decisions. If she chooses to be reckless without considering the consequences, then the other half of the blame is on her. I shook my head at her. All you do is push the responsibility onto men. You have absolutely no class. Birds of a feather flock together. No wonder Elena is the way she is. With that, I didn't bother to watch the emotions play across her face. I just walked away. After Elena was discharged from the hospital, she came looking for me again. It was my one day off. There was a commotion downstairs. Sounded like someone was proposing. I rolled over and pulled the covers over my head. Then I heard someone shouting my name through a megaphone. My name. I shot up and peered out the window. There was Elena standing in the middle of a heart made of roses. She was holding a letter. Seeing me, she smiled. She raised her megaphone. Mark, I love you. I never thought Elena would resort to such a cheesy tactic, and her skin had apparently thickened to be tougher than a castle wall. It seemed as if without concrete evidence of her cheating thrown in her face, she could deny it without batting an eye. I went back into the bathroom and filled a basin with water. Then I took a tray of ice cubes from the freezer. A crowd of onlookers had gathered downstairs. Seeing my setup, they all quickly scattered. But Elena stood her ground, unmoving. She looked up at me with a guilty expression. And then I drenched her. The March wind carried a distinct chill. Some people in the crowd were already starting to feel sorry for her. Watching her put on this act, I fought back my disgust and took a few steps back from the window. I dug through my blocked contacts and found Caleb's number. I waited for him to come pick her up. Caleb arrived surprisingly fast. He had a fresh wound on his forehead. When Elena saw his injury, her eyes widened in panic. How did you get hurt? Caleb glanced up at my window. I heard someone threw cold water on you. I was worried. I was in too much of a hurry and someone bumped into me on the way. Elena examined him carefully. Once she was sure he wasn't seriously hurt, she pushed him away. You should go back. Put some medicine on it. Caleb grabbed her sleeve and began to sob, his head bowed. Suddenly he staggered and fainted. Elena panicked, forgetting everything else. She scooped Caleb up and rushed out of the crowd. The onlookers now understood what was really going on. They started munching on popcorn and muttering curses at Elena as she left. For the next few weeks, I lived in peace. I heard from old friends that Elena had recently gone public with another guy from her social circle. I'm guessing it was Caleb. See? Such a convincing act of deep love. Women are better actors than men. She not only fooled everyone around her, but she also fooled herself. But she couldn't fool my gut. How could someone who truly loves you do things to hurt you? Being willing to drink herself into the hospital for me didn't stop her from cheating on me, and it didn't stop her from getting together with another guy. I focused on my work. I didn't let any news about them disrupt my plans. I wanted to go back to my hometown. There comes an age when you start to miss home. This city was vibrant and inclusive, but I always felt a barrier between it and me. The company was planning to open a new branch. I submitted a transfer request to my boss, Miss Reynolds. She was stunned when she heard my plan. After all, the new branch was in an undeveloped market. Whether it was a promotion or a banishment was anyone's guess. Miss Reynolds, you know me. The unknown is the one thing I'm not afraid of. Just give me a chance and I'll fight with everything I have to grab it and climb my way up. Miss Reynolds smiled and patted my shoulder. You young people really have drive. I moved back to Southport with Beans, this place I had left so long ago. I was sent to my uncle's house when I started middle school. It had been over 10 years since I'd been back. The first thing I did after the plane landed was look at a few properties. I promised Beans I'd buy him a big house. Now I could finally make it happen. The new branch office was already established here. The GM, Mr. Henderson, added me to the management group chat. I was finally reintegrating into the city where I was born and raised. I never expected to see Elena here again. Who would have thought that a woman with a husband and child would still be hung up on her ex-boyfriend? When I saw her this time, she looked so thin she was almost unrecognizable. Her eyes were sunken, and the whites were shot through with red veins, as if she hadn't slept for days. She stretched her lips into a pained smile. I haven't seen Beans in so long. I really miss him. When Beans saw his old owner again, he excitedly circled her, sniffing. Elena couldn't stop petting him. You've taken such good care of him. His coat is so glossy and smooth. I didn't respond. She awkwardly rubbed her nose and started searching for a new topic. How have you been lately? Are you getting used to being back here? I took a sip of water. This is where I grew up. The first time I met your parents, the whole table was covered in spicy food. I managed to eat that meal. Why wouldn't I be used to being back in my own home? Elena was speechless. I was inconsiderate. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I put my glass down. You were inconsiderate, and you were inconsiderate about a lot more than just that, which is why I ran for my life. Her gaunt face turned even paler. I smiled, pleased. I had no desire to know how those two were doing over the years, but they were just too bizarre to ignore. Old friends would tell me stories about them as a joke from time to time, and honestly, hearing about their drama-filled lives was pretty satisfying. Apparently, Elena found out she was infertile. Around the same time, Caleb reappeared, claiming he had a child with his ex-girlfriend, Monica. Elena's family was worried about her not being able to have children, so this ready-made kid seemed like a solution to their problem. They were overjoyed. They pressured Elena into marrying Caleb. I think Elena herself was probably happy about it. After all, she was already messing around with him before we even broke up. But unexpectedly, on the wedding day, she ran. It completely shattered my perception of her. I really didn't know this ex-girlfriend of mine at all. A bride running out on her wedding, leaving the groom alone to face all their friends and family. It's a miracle Caleb could tolerate it. That hopeless romantic was willing to be the other man for her. What wouldn't he do? But it turned out Caleb had a huge surprise of his own for everyone. He had claimed his ex, Monica, had died tragically, leaving him to raise their child alone. But Elena accidentally discovered that Caleb had been secretly contacting Monica the whole time, using the family's money to support her. He had just used the child as a bargaining chip to trick his way into the family's trust and a marriage, all while using Elena's money to support his ex-girlfriend and their kid. What goes around comes around. But if Elena had cared even a little bit about that child, she wouldn't have been deceived for so long. When Elena left, she was a wreck. Then, one night at a team dinner celebrating record-breaking sales for the branch, I had a little too much to drink and was feeling dizzy. As I walked into my apartment complex, a dark figure suddenly rushed out from the side. I was just about to pull the pepper spray from my bag when I saw the person's face. It was Elena, standing half in the shadows. "I was just worried you might fall. You looked unsteady on your feet." "You should worry about yourself." The new intern who started yesterday, Sarah, works under me. She lives in the apartment across from mine. Elena's face flushed with anger. "Let go of her! Who told you you could touch her?" I leaned on the girl's shoulder. "Do you have a problem with that? My ex-girlfriend." Elena's face paled. "Did you find this girl just to spite me? Don't be so impulsive, please." I took the girl's hand. I held it up in front of Elena. "We're already living together. Do we have any reason to lie to you?" Elena stumbled back a few steps, devastated, and melted back into the darkness. I frowned and wiped the spot on my sleeve where she had touched me. Too bad this shirt was new. Now I have to throw it out. Just being in the same space as her made my skin crawl. I led Sarah away. Her voice was teasing. "So, I hear we're living together now?" "Across the hall is close enough." Elena had been secretly following me for days. Calling the police was useless. Without evidence, there was nothing they could do. Since it had come to this, my only option was to call Caleb. Caleb rushed over looking travel-worn. We met at a coffee shop. "You must be feeling pretty pleased with yourself, huh?" he said, his face grim and tired. "I'm curious. What do you think I'm pleased about? Women, career, money? If you mean the last two, then you're right. I am pretty pleased. If you're talking about women, well, I guess you could say that too." I pulled out my phone and showed him a picture of my girlfriend. "See? Young, beautiful, and understanding. A woman is just the icing on the cake, you know?" Caleb's face turned ugly. He slammed his hand on the table and left. On his way out, just to save face, he paid our bill. I already knew, of course, that his family had gone bankrupt. After Elena found out she'd been scammed, she had cut him off financially a long time ago. I picked up my coffee and took a slow sip. I heard Elena didn't want to leave town, so Caleb staged a suicide attempt. He jumped into the artificial lake in the park, but he was quickly pulled out by onlookers. The incident blew up. They were both taken in for counseling by the authorities. Maybe out of shame, Elena finally went back with Caleb. But as soon as she returned, she started looking for a lawyer to file for divorce. Caleb is completely dependent on her now. He's definitely going to cling to her for dear life. Those two have a long, messy road ahead of them. A pair of young arms wrapped tightly around me. Distracted. Looks like I'm not trying hard enough.